right? This is not your domain. You must just stay away. It doesn't concern you.
Yeah, hi guys. Nechi, with regards to their DNA, I think it's most likely like, some kind of like primates, some kind of like primitive wild animals or something like that. But I think my issue with these people is when they go to a country like the United States, they don't have an issue with the fact that it's a melting pot, it's racially diverse with a lot of ethnicities. You have the Latinos, you have the Mexicans, you have people from South America. You have people from everywhere and of different sort of ethnic origin, and they all form part of the multiracial society that is the United States. When they go there, they don't question Americans as to who's who. They don't try and divide them according to races. Why do they only do that in South Africa? It just goes to show just how little they take us for granted. To come all the way from West Africa to worry about whose race is who in South Africa. I mean, something like 4,000 kilometers or more from bloody West Africa to come to South Africa to dictate to them whose race is who is just insane. Why do they not apply the same logic when they go to a country like the United States? Why is South Africa not allowed to be a multiracial society with different ethnicities? Like, they don't have a problem with that in the US and all these countries that they run to. Why does it bother them here? It's just mental illness.
Sigma. You've spoken like a wise man. I want to say something. My own take on this issue, I don't have any problem with any South African, be you colored, white, black, or Indian. I don't have a problem. My own point is this: if, like you said, some Indians, some from other parts of the world, were taken as slaves in South Africa, and we're given that platform to integrate, to marry, and eventually start up the colored community. What's wrong if a black man decides to go to South Africa, get married, and tries to integrate? Why can't we have another platform where you have other Africans trying to build their own community, just like the Indian community is there? What's it called? I'm talking about legitimately, I'm not talking about illegal migrants now. I'm talking about legitimate Nigerians working in South Africa who eventually finds love, decides they want to settle and integrate into that society. Can you tell me what exactly is wrong with that setting? Just tell me. If you could give that advantage to people from the West, why can't you give that same advantage to legal foreigners from the same continent to integrate with your people? Could you tell me what the problem is? That's just my own take. Do you understand?
Okay, first of all, that is nonsensical, because the people from the West that you speak of, you don't want to accept that they are South African, because for you, a South African should only be a black person. And that is what we're trying to show you. That is the flaw in your reasoning. You don't have any power or any, capacity to decide who's a South African and who's not. Let South Africans decide that for themselves. And if based on their historical, situation, the country is such that people of different racial origins now find themselves as South Africans because maybe they are fifth generation or something like that. That is not for you as a bloody Nigerian to decide how South African one should be. Because I can ask you a simple question: what defines a South African in your mind? What makes a South African, since you know so much about us?
What makes a South African?
What makes a person a South African? Yeah,
it's just a person that actually holds a South African passport, bro.
A South African passport? Are you serious?
My brother, when you leave the shores of your country, they ask you, who are you? I'm a Nigerian. Who are you? I'm a South African. Who are you? I'm an American. Why? Because you're holding an American passport. You can't call yourself an American while you're holding a Russian passport. So, what identifies you first as someone that is from this country is your passport, my brother.
Okay, so now you've
I'm not
answered
talking
the
about the
question.
nitty-gritty of where
Let me
you are
tell
in
you,
terms of
just
your
wait.
English.
Let me tell you. Now, that is where you're wrong. For us, the South African identity is not a piece of paper. It's not a costume that you can just wear whenever convenient. And when it's no longer convenient, you can run elsewhere and wear another piece of costume or piece of paper and call yourself that. A South African identity is something far deeper than that. It has to do with our history, our heritage, our common ancestry, and who we are, and what has always defined us, as a rainbow nation or whatever you want to call us. There is something fundamental and far more intrinsic than a piece of paper. Otherwise, then there's nothing that makes me a South African if I can decide tomorrow to go to bloody Nigeria or Australia and get a piece of paper in all these countries, and suddenly I am that nationality. It doesn't work like that. That's nonsense. You're seriously telling me, guys, are you listening to
Because
this?
they are moving from paper, they are under the impression that they will become South Africans. It doesn't work like that.
It actually makes sense now why they keep on fighting to get a South African passport. It's because according to them, as long as you have a South African passport, then it makes you a South African. I mean, that's their logic. It makes sense why they keep on trying to marry our sisters and actually obtain papers in a fraudulent manner.
Sigma spoke a lot, but Sigma still didn't answer his own question. What makes you South African if it's not the ID?
Morning, guys.
What makes you South African, my brother?
Morning, Oscar.
Yeah, you can literally see what kind of people we are dealing with. I mean, someone to just be of a certain country. These people are just obsessed with our passports. Nothing else. It's just passport. It's the end of the story. Once they get that, then they know they can move all around the world. So you can see that these people are not here to actually be South Africans. They're here to collect passports and then go somewhere else. I mean, what kind of a reasoning are we going to, to debate with this guy when he said to only be South African, you need a passport? That's pure nonsense. That's why Commander said that these people that are here, they are not here, they've never been legal here. We know they come here with study visas, tourist visas, and then they end up marrying people here illegally still. So that's why we need to start from scratch. These people must actually be deported, all of them, whether legal or not. We start from zero, because this doesn't make sense. From a Nigerian who's here with a tourist visa, and then in 3 months is already married. What kind of nonsense is that? Our brothers have been staying with South African women here for years, and they are not yet still married. But it takes a Nigerian, mostly all of them, they take them 3 months to get married. To me, that thing doesn't make sense, guys. It really doesn't make sense. So this project of delivering people here, it must stop. We can't be reasoning with such people who are problem solvers, but they can't solve their problems in their own countries. They are telling us to be South African, you only need a passport. Really? He hasn't even heard about the diplomatic stuff that the passport can be bought. That doesn't make you a South African at the end of the day. That doesn't make you South African.
Absolutely wrong. We don't a passport is not what makes us South Africans. We've got lots of South Africans that don't even have IDs, and they are South Africans. So your argument is, I don't know.
What makes you then a South African? None of you have answered the question. I gave my answer. You said it's wrong. Can you tell me which one is right? Which is correct? Which one is the correct one? What makes you a South African? In plain English, as ABC, just say what makes you one.
Dumela.
What makes me a South African is the language, is the culture.
Dumela.
It's
stone.
We wait. Allow other people to talk, and then you get your time. Go ahead, Commander.
Look, Sigma has indicated what makes a South African. You know, it's much more than a paper. It's a lot of things. You know, it's your being Nguni, it's your being Africans, it's your being, you know, it's your you know, it's your culture, your perpetual presence in the country through your descendants and ascendants. That's what makes you South African. That is why South Africans are able to single out who is South African and who is not. Not even before even they can speak. You know, because there are certain deep characteristics which, you know, show that this person is South African. Even when that person is Mzungu, we are able to see and determine that this is Mzungu from South Africa without them talking anything. We are able to say that this is Mzungu by mere sight. We are able to say this is Mzungu from South Africa, this is Mzungu from another country. You know, we even know how we walk as black South Africans. When somebody walks there in front of you 100 meters, you are able to say that that person is not South African. From the walk, you can say from the size of your leg, the size of your shoe, that this person is not South African, this one is South African. You will never find South African wearing size in 12, 13, no. In very exceptional circumstances, but we know each other by movement, the way we carry ourselves, the way we wear clothes, you know, the way we speak and stuff like that. That's what makes you South African. We know ourselves. You know, we know ourselves. We can separate a Zimbabwean from a South African by mere sight. Not before even they can speak. So we know who will be a colored from South Africa and a colored from the US or from another country. Even before they speak, you are able to see, to tell that this one is a colored from South Africa, El Dorado Park. The way they wear, the way they posture themselves, the way they carry themselves, you are able to see and say that this one is South African. So you cannot buy being South African. You can't. It's not possible. You know, if you cannot point the grave of your grandfather or your great grandfather to South Africa, you're not South African. You can't be. You are an artificial South African if you are. You see?
Yeah, just to supplement what Commander has just said, you know, to be a South African, it means that your cultures, your clans, you need to be indoctrinated within those cultures that are recognized in South Africa. You cannot just come from somewhere and then just because you are here and then you have a passport, you call yourself South African. No. That's why we've been saying that these people that are marrying our sisters here, they need to actually take them to their origin of their fathers. That's where they belong. So just because, you know, I can speak Zulu, it doesn't mean I'm Zulu. I can be Pedi, but I can speak Zulu. So just because you yourself, you can speak a certain language somehow in South Africa and then you call yourself South African. No, you must be indoctrinated within the culture that is recognized here in South Africa. So you can't judge a South African based on a piece of paper. No. That's why there are those South Africans that they say they are naturalized. Basically, those people, according to me, they are not South Africans. They are actually naturalized because they've been here and they intend to stay here. But a true South African is the one that is falling within the cultures and the clans that are recognized in South Africa. Simple as that. If you don't fall, if you are an Igbo, you are not South African. You are a Yoruba, you are not South African. Simple as that.
True, because even those who are naturalized, their identity number, it's totally different from a South African identity number. You can see on the last digit at the end is either it doesn't have a 0, it will start from 1 or another a different number. So you can tell those people are not original South Africans. They were just naturalized to be South African. So it doesn't just take a piece of paper to be a South African. A piece of paper is nothing. You must be an indigenous South African, either Nguni or Sotho and other races, or colored, or whatever the case may be. But it's not just a piece of paper, because we can even tell if you hold that ID, you can tell with the numbers that you are actually not an origin. You are not an original South African. I work in a department where I can tell, where I load people on the system. I can even tell a white person that, okay, this one is from Belgium, but he's holding a South African ID for whatever reason. So it's totally different. So the division that they are trying to put in between coloreds and Indians, South Africans. So I don't think it's gonna work, because those people, they were forced. They didn't come by choice, but it's their choice to come to South Africa and force them into being South Africans. So
Okay,
if you think I'm a
Bantu.
Zimbabwean, that's your own problem. If you think I'm a Zimbabwean, that's your own problem. Is your baby to nurse. I know for the fact
Imagine, I
that
was
I
just
am
about
South
to-
African.
to
I will never,
reply to
and
that
I
comment.
will never be ashamed of my identity.
Sure.
If I was Ndebele from Zimbabwe, I was whatever tribe from whatever, or in SADC, that shouldn't be a problem. Why would I force myself into South Africa if I'm not a South African? Why would I
Okay.
fight to be a South African?
And
Even if I
one
was
other
from
thing, Commander.
Lesotho, even if I was
Not
from
Zimbabwe,
Swaziland,
we're
so
not
why
doing
would I
the-
be?
That's a very stupid comment.
It
Actually. So you
shows
don't
how
know what
stupid you
South
are,
Africans
guys,
all
and
about.
it
You
shows how
don't know.
Hold on,
shallow-minded
hold
you
on.
are, that
Hold
you
on.
just pick
You
any
don't have-
any
you don't have
nationality
to
and
use
you
the word
assume.
stupid. Hold on.
You are
don't have to
very
use the word-
stupid,
No,
man.
that's gone.
You are
word
very.
stupid.
No, I'm not
see,
answering you. I'm
Bantu.
answering someone on the comments. You are very
Bantu.
foolish people,
Bantu.
man.
ungazosijwayela kabi
Bantu, there's no
masimba akho
point.
hamba ezimbabwe
Hold on,
Nonsense.
madam. Madam,
Hawu,
hold on.
Dagi,
Hawu, wait,
Hawu, uyahlanya.
wait.
Sizini.
Hamba wena fokof yakuni
Hawu,
hamba
uqala
indlela
lapho kwesizwe.
elilambileyo futhi
Umuntu uqala lapho
uzosijwayela kabi
kwazohlanyela.
nomoko
Oh,
Umuntu
no.
uqala lapho
Utshela ukukhala kabi
uyahamba.
Bantu, you gotta think.
Uthoka
Just
inyawo
have
rabi.
uchayayo.
Uzothetha
uchayayo.
apha kufanele yethu
Uchaya eyiphi inyawo
fake
phela?
neflag yase-South Africa rubbish
Awusiki wena.
kusiki wena rubbish awunambeko
sana.
What's happening now?
phela kabubi wena
Udala nje. Uyaxeqa, uyaphambana.
Point of order.
Uyaxeqa,
why you block me? Bantu, why are you blocking me? Why
uphambene wena.
Why are you blocking me?
Uyadakwa
Hey,
ntombazana.
Commander,
Ntombazana udakile. Uchayeka.
Bantu, why are you blocking me? That is busy insulting us. Why you block yena? Why you blocking her?
Upromise
This is my life. I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want. Like promise.
upromise uyagula.
Okay, it's inclusive.
Upromise ungasuka nje athukane out of the blue.
No, she can't be like you guys. You can't be calling her like saying she sounds Zimbabwean too. She's not Zimbabwean.
Yile nto abasilezayo kwamaXhosa dom. It's people like yena. It's people like upromise lo abastigmatizayo as Xhosa people bamaXhosa ayadakwa because uyangena kuyathukisa ngoku. Niyasazisa, you are embarrassing us as Xhosa people ngale mentality yenu engabadlanga. You are stigmatizing us all over. Anivuthwanga manina.
Relax.
Hayi anivuthwanga. You are trying your life on this side. I fuck off man.
Be fuck off.
I fuck off one mna. Chini. Yakhula intombazane ekuseni. I fuck man. Hayi sudakwa.
There was a Nigerian guy who said that I sound Zimbabwean. I laugh so hard. I thought he was gonna say maybe I'm from Botswana or
Umxhosa waphi dom? You are very dom. Umxhosa omuhle. Uyisudrehe man, uyinhlama. Yebantu. Hayi uyinhlama.
That's an insult. But anyway, it's born.
Information mina ngumxhosa ngihlala eNyanga Degentini. Wasenyanga, I was born and brought in Nyanga East, stupid.
Let me understand.
Let's calm down, guys.
Sounded